Hello, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This was a interesting week for us because I am terrible with time zones, as Tim knows, but now apparently a few more people know it. I'm awful at this time zone game. Everybody in the world should just be on Eastern time, and we could move on.
Yeah, I don't know how you messed that up. It was 8 o'clock, then it was 9 o'clock, then it was 6 o'clock. And you were throwing me off. I was like, where are these people coming from?
Yeah, well, it turns out Central Time is only 1 hour behind me, not 2 hours behind me, which was what threw me off. I thought so when I thought they said six, I thought it was going to be after eight a little bit, and then
It was talking to Dave last week. That's what's got you.
it is. It's the I'm going to completely blame Dave. Obviously, it's his fault. So he might be able to train the refs, but he can't get Blue Squatch to figure out how a clock works. So Dave
He's the ref,
actually
he's the ref guy, so you blame the refs, right?
absolutely got to blame the ref. And he's the goalie. So, I mean, he is ultimately, if you're going to point a finger at anybody on the board, it just has to be Dave. He's the goalie and the official guy. So he's used to it by now at this point in his life.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, I mean, we are now officially like underway where pretty much everybody is starting to get their games or they at least have their teams honed in. How are things down with the Ignite and your start of the season?
We're good. We have training camp coming up this weekend. We got practices Friday, Saturday, and then we're doing an inter squad scrimmage. We got our senior B team and our senior A team kind of mixing squads for the inter squad scrimmage. So I'm kind of excited to see. We got a lot of new faces, got a lot of young faces. So I'm kind of see how guys kind of finally react when it's not pickup and it's live bullets flying.
It's so hard to simulate. You hear guys talk about it all the time, but really kind of mixing it up and getting in there with a real somebody else being the official and kind of getting things going is kind of the only way. The Yeti do the blue and white. Every team seems to have a way to do it because it's different too in practice. You don't really you're not getting the cross check. You're not clearing the guy out of the crease quite like you will in that game situation, which is what you really need to feel.
Yeah, I mean, we do pickups both field and box to kind of help recruit guys and get guys used to just being around each other. But yeah, you're right. You never know who doesn't have biceps on, who doesn't have rib pads on. You're not really going into the boards hard. You're laying off picks, that kind of stuff. So, talking to guys leading up to our camp, it's like, yo, we might be friends or I might have coached you in high school, but come training camp, you better have pads on because I'm going to hit you and like, you better hit me back because whenever we play, Knoxville or we go to nationals or whoever we're playing, they're not going to be nice. They don't know you. They're going to try to run you over.
Yeah, you're not
So
doing
yeah,
anybody any favors with at that point once it's official. And like you said, it's nice to kind of have that date. So something I got to talk with the Iowa Dogfish guys. They have a lot of young players too. Where are most of your young players coming from as far as like the Ignite? Is it all just guys that since you've been there now you're kind of building the relationships? Do you have a certain couple schools? I mean,
no, so we kind of pull from the whole city, and it's really just kind of the coaching connections from our younger guys. So I mean, we have about high 20s, low 30s of guys who have either refed or coached or just been in the Nashville lacrosse scene the last 5-10 years. And so it's guys that they coached in the past that they kind of want to continue their careers, whether they're currently in college, they're graduating college. And then the biggest thing for us is once we get one or two college guys, they start to kind of recruit their friends and their friends start coming through. So not everyone's going to be playing this year, but we've had a lot of guys that pick up that they're interested. They're going to practice with us a little bit here and there. But yeah, it's really just kind of through those coaching connections more than anything of just, hey, this guy played for me in high school. He's at whatever college now. He wants to keep playing or his college coach wants him to play a little bit more and he wants to learn stuff like that. We have a D-pole who's fresh out of high school. His older brother plays for us. He's going to Kinesis this fall. And they play kind of like a box hybrid for their field game. So as soon as his coach found out that his older brother played box, he encouraged him to play box. So we're picking him up. Just little things like that.
it's so cool how all these divisions are different. Like instead of you guys having the college kids where you're getting one or two colleges and kids are staying from the summer, you're actually taking the local kids who have kind of dispersed out to college but come home for the summer and giving them a place to play. It's one of my favorite things about the league really is just how different everybody runs it in the division because you guys also do the like a day out of it, right? Like everybody shows up, you guys all play each other because of the travel, or is that a different division? I'm
Yeah, no, we're the champions of the round robin just because other than maybe now the Midwest with Omaha and Iowa joining, we might be the biggest kind of geographically footprint wise because we got Cincy, we got Knoxville, we got Atlanta. We used to have Charlotte and Raleigh, and they're 8-9 hours from us here in Nashville. So we do the round robins where you're playing 2, possibly 3 or 4 games in a day, and you're getting an hour to 3 hours before games. And it's really kind of fun because everybody gets to come together. We usually all go out and get beers or something afterwards. There's usually some type of get together. But yeah, we do those round robin tournaments. So it's a lot more of a marathon. But for us, it definitely paid off last year going to the nationals because you get used to that up tempo, got to score now, can't rely on the stop clock. And then, an hour, 2 hour rebound, you get something small to eat, and you're right back on the floor playing again.
Yeah, no, that whole I mean that definitely works. So I know you guys do it. I know the metro area there with the Mustangs and all those guys down below, they do it. And then out southwest, I guess I would call it. I'm not sure if is that what it is?
Oh,
Is
I
it the
totally
South
forgot about that. Yeah, the Gulf Coast region because they
Gulf
got
Coast?
Dallas and Austin, but then they also got the Mambo out in Louisiana. So
Yeah.
they're probably actually the furthest from each other. But yeah, it's just easier that way. I mean, I would love to do college hockey style where you show up in the city and you play one game Friday, one game Saturday, but just currently the way the league set up, it's just not feasible. It'd be too much money, too much travel, and it just wouldn't be doable for us.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I hope one day.
it really kind of highlights like I say, I think the pinnacle of this league is it lets you locally figure it out. One of my favorite versions, and hopefully next week we're going to catch up with Scott Joyner to talk to him about that. They're the Mid Atlantic, it's called, right? I'm terrible with the names of them,
Mid
but
Atlantic. Yeah.
so the Mid Atlantic, I did get that one right. But I like how they all play at the same place. They meet on Thursdays. One week this team plays, the next week you're playing this team, and everybody is kind of there. And the way they break it down, I can't wait to get a little more detail from him on that. And it's just hilarious to me that I was talking to this kid's or a young man's father at a Tuscarora Tomahawks game, and he's like, "No, he played for Scott Joyner down in for the Arrows." I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, no, he played down there for the Arrows," and it got a little confusing because I'm interviewing him talking about the Arrows, and he was playing for the Tomahawks, who were playing against the Allegheny Arrows, so it might have gotten a little confusing in the interview. But again, another shout out to this league giving somebody a chance to get in. He then, because of Scott's connection playing in the NLL for Kilgore, got him hooked up with Darius Kilgore. So now he's playing for the Tomahawks. So a young man who definitely down in that area would not have had a chance to play box because of Scott and the community down there had a chance to play box. And now he's playing for a legend up in Tuscarora in one of the most competitive leagues there is.
Was he commuting down to Baltimore, or what was he
No,
doing?
he lived down there, but he came up here to go to college, and he's going to college in St. Bonaventure. So then he
Got
stays up here because of where St. Bonaventure is. He stays up here. So I was talking to his dad because he was like, "The streams are amazing. I get to watch them. I'm from down in Maryland." I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "How is he playing for the Tomahawks?" And then he told me like what the deal, and I was like, "Oh, it's crazy." And he said he played for Scott. So I interviewed the kid after the game, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been playing there. It's awesome getting to play against the Wild. Like they move the ball, it really prepares you for what he's do." I mean, so what a advantage a young man had to be able to play against maybe not that same young athletic junior style, but just with the skill level that the Wild have, being all those top level athletes, and Tinney with coaching the box and their goalie, and just to be able to play against that. And I think Scott said he's been playing with him for quite a few years now. So it's really an amazing tribute to. Although we don't always get to see the Arrows, I've never seen them at nationals. It's still so cool for me to hear these teams and how they really grow this whole sport.
Yeah, and that's the goal of the league at the end of the day is whether it's teams at nationals. I mean, I think you had Camden, I would think for Paper City last year.
Yeah.
He ended up getting drafted. He plays up north, I think in Can-Am. You had Mustang Sally, all time great name, playing games for the Wheat Kings. He ends up getting drafted. I think he's playing MSL this summer. I'm not quite sure, but he's playing somewhere up north this summer. So I mean, whether it's national teams or whether it's regular teams who just play the regular season and they haven't made it to nationals yet, it's a pipeline for guys to play more box, play more lacrosse, and kind of just develop their skills. Hopefully as the years go by, we hear more and more of those success stories of guys getting shots up north and then guys getting shots in the big leagues.
Yeah, I mean, it really, like you said, it is the pinnacle of this league and talking smack, I think, which we're about to get into with the power rankings. I think that is equally as important with all of this. But no, but you run into it's a problem when you're a GM because you build these teams and then when guys step off, like the Tomahawks last year went to the President's Cup and their team this year is struggling because they lost so many guys that went to play Senior A or went to play in the NLL and got camped, so now they're over here and it has been a very you put yourself behind the eight ball. So I was super excited to see that the Wild are still on top. The Spirit obviously haven't done anything to lose their ranking yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and say that it is the official kings of the NABLL because they are in third place. So I'm gonna talk some smack there, and I'm sure Midbo will get him on the show in a couple weeks, and he'll tell me how much of an idiot I am, which is fine.
I mentioned it the last time I was on the show. There was technically a bet going into year one, and it was whoever finished the highest got to keep the King's name. So both Collar City and Mimbo has a decision to make because I mean technically Dave owns that King's name, and I mean yeah they're 1-0 or 2-0 in the ranking, so yeah they're staying at three, and Spirits are 3-0. I mean you can make an argument that they should be the number one team right now because the Wild are only 1-0, but
Don't
as you
even. I said this last year we started playing this game, and I do not think Westminster until they. Honestly, I think even if they drop a game in their division, I'm still keeping Westminster on top because they have never been anything but outstanding in the finals. I think they have a team that's specifically well built. I know they might have lost some guys, and I haven't seen the team this year, but they are very well built as far as they throw the ball and they use their athleticism wisely. They don't have to run. They're so
yeah
talented with their sticks that they can spread it out and pick and choose when they put their foot on the gas pedal. Kind of like a fighter,
we,
you pick and choose
yeah
when you're in control and managing your energy resources. I think that is honestly my opinion of what makes the Wild so much better than our consistent champions, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, and I mean they have a system, they run their system, and I mean it looks like they're firing on all cylinders. They won their first game, I want to say like 26-1 or something like that. So regardless of who they lost or who they picked up, it went right into the system and the gears are turning. So I mean, yeah, I mean if they lose a division game in the regular season, maybe we drop them because I mean to my knowledge they're undefeated for the last 3 years. So kind of hard to argue if they lose a regular season they got to drop, but yeah they'll be the fan favorite and probably the betting favorite going into nationals for sure.
Absolutely.
Assuming
Yeah, this the Reapers team at 4, they're a team that comes out and always surprises you because their numbers don't look like they're going to be able to run as much as they can, but a bunch of hidden athletes, great goaltender. The Wheat Kings in 5, and then the Grand Rapids team I kind of wanted to talk about. Another one of those teams, kind of like the robots that Westminster seems to be able to just plug and play with down there. They're very consistent. You know what you're getting with that Grand Rapids team every
yeah
year. The Wheat Kings, it makes you wonder because as you have so many guys that are either one up there in age or two guys getting drafted, so you've got both ends of the spectrum. I mean, what are the Wheat Kings going to look like? In their goalie last year, they brought out the Isotopes goalie to Nationals. I got a lot of questions about the Wheat Kings, I'll say.
yeah I mean Mimbo runs a tight ship and they have their systems. They're a much more physical team than a lot of other teams, but they do have a deeper region. Now that you add Omaha, you add Iowa. They didn't have the strongest opening weekends, but I mean, you can't judge a book by week one. They both had to travel up there, but so they got to play more games this year than they're used to. That blue shirts team looked like they were firing all cylinders, and they were a team that last year on this show, Mimbo said isn't a joke. They take it serious. They're there to win. They're not there to just kind of play and treat it like a beer league. So um, I'd like to say the Wheat Kings are the Wheat Kings, but you said it best. They don't have the best goalie in the region. Not trying to throw any shade, but when you're taking other teams' goalies to nationals, that says something. You lose a couple guys to get in draft, a couple guys get older. It's another year down the road. So we'll see. That's for sure. I mean, I know the Isotopes and I know the Blue Shirts would rather be in Utica than the Wheat Kings for sure.
100%. I don't think anybody's giving it up that easily. And then we go to the Ignite. So, I mean, you can definitely fill us in on the start of your season. You kind of did when you're getting going, but you guys haven't really kicked off yet as far as playing each other. So,
Yeah, we'll play our first game next Friday, and then we have our first like regional games mid July. We're going to Knoxville for one of those big weekends. But actually, a loss for us and a big pickup for the Grizzlies. Our longtime lefty Mikey Gardner, who basically helped build Box here in Nashville, good for about 3 to 4 goals a game, uh, is moving to Grand Rapids and actually made the Grizzlies roster. So I actually very sadly had to drop him to free agency today. It was a just a job thing. He got a good offer. He has to move. I think he either already moved or he's about to move. But he flew up there for their tryouts, made the team. So Grand Rapids is getting a shooter and a good lefty, which everyone needs. And we're losing our longtime anchor on the left side on offense.
Oh, that instantly makes that 7 spot questionable for the Ignite. I mean, it's
No, 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 no. We'll be all right. We got 4 young lefties, all up and comers, all learned from Mikey. It's just more of a sad part, but it's a gain for
no,
for
but
Grand Rapids. Makes them that much more dangerous, especially come nationals time. I mean, I don't know what the league rules if I'll be able to trade for Mikey for nationals, but I doubt Brian will let me go.
I like that. But the no, it's again something really cool about this league is you get a job, you move, you make a couple phone calls, you find a team to play with wherever you are, and it's really an amazing thing. And so that eighth place team though, a team that we did not see in nationals last year.
Yeah, Paper City dropped 2 tough games to the Spirits. I mean, you could make the point to leave them in the power rankings, but they're 0-2. Maine came out pretty strong and had, I think, a 12 point win over the who was it? It was Rampage over Rhode Island, which Rhode Island looked pretty good. They got blown out last year, and they put up, I think, 17 or 18 on Maine. So it could be a surprise team, but yeah, we got to put Maine and show some love for going 1-0, and unfortunately, Paper City dropping out of the power rankings for now. For now.
For now. I like it, but the honestly, Paper City was out of the power rankings and out of most of their league's contention until the playoffs of last year, and then they kind of flipped things on its head. So I mean, it's really not a knock on Paper City. It's just kind of things going the way they did last season too, with maybe not the start of the year that they wanted, but they finished strong, and some teams are like that. It especially they. I know talking to those guys, they have a lot of young players. They're constantly cycling guys through. Like you said, you get guys that are drafted. So I mean, you're losing guys that are playing in these different leagues. It's tough, but they have a phenomenal youth program that they're running in the area. So I expect Paper City, if they are not in it this year, if somehow something happens where they don't come through, they are going to be. But I tell you, the biggest thing I want to talk about with the Maine Northman is getting to watch that young man that plays behind Duncan. That instantly made it so the Northman now, I don't think it was always a question of what was behind Duncan, at least for me. I'd never seen anybody play behind him. That question has been answered for me. I think if Duncan gets hurt or if something happens, it's not even a question. And after watching Kyle at Team USA and then watching the way that they got started there, and now O'Gorman's playing for Team Ireland, I mean, you just look around. It's hard to pick against the Northmen, and I don't even think it's a knock on Paper City. I think it's just they've got to put the dues in and get the time. But honestly, Paper City, a young team, I expect to get great things out of, and Maine just kind of showing that they're starting off, and they maybe got a little chip on their shoulder for what is it's probably the first time they haven't made it out of their division.
Uh, I mean, to my knowledge, even going back to the old NABLL days, I don't recall a nationals where Maine wasn't there. And I'm sure Baker was reminding the guys that every week, leading up to it. But I mean, that whole division is a minefield because I mean the Nor'easters aren't a throwaway game. Rampage look like they're getting better. I mean, the fact that they put 17-18 on Maine week 1 just shows that. And then, I mean, yeah, Paper City, you got to give them kudos. Most teams aren't opening the season playing the runner-up from nationals, going there and then hosting them on back-to-back weeks. So for them to go 0-2 to start the season is tough. Probably, they probably didn't want that, but starting off, losing 2 games to the Thousand Island Spirits, there's a lot they can probably learn from that, and they can use that moving forward into that minefield of a season that they're going to have.
Well, I mean, honestly, it just kind of shows you what kind of program they intend on building, though, because you get guys that look for tune-up games, you get guys that look for soft games, and that's obviously not something that's even in the cards for them. I mean, you don't even consider taking the Spirits on traveling to Thousand Islands for your first game if you want a tune-up game. Like that's not even the vocabulary. So kudos to,
Oh,
like you said, kudos to them for putting themselves in a tough spot. And iron sharpens iron, really makes the adversity, and hopefully for them it works out. But we've already been doing this for 20 minutes, and I still got 35 minutes that I talked with those guys. We're gonna play. Tim, I could talk box lacrosse all day. Thank you so
yeah.
much for what you and all the board members do, making this a GM's league and allowing me the opportunity to get to speak with the guys from the Iowa Dogfish. We're going to go into that, but is there anything you want to say essentially before we sign off and talk next weekend? We want to throw some smack talk out there, like maybe the Spirits are going to drop out of oblivion if they even only win by 1 goal. Let's just throw something out there.
Yeah, if they only win by 1 goal their next game, they're out of the power rankings. How
They're
about that?
they're done. It's over.
Johnson, that you can blame me, but if you don't win by more than at least 2, you're out of the power rankings. But no, thank you for running the show. Thank you for doing everything you do for the league. I'm just happy the league's up and running. We had a ton of good games this last weekend. We got a lot of good games coming up this next weekend. And now it's the season. Now it's the fun part.
It is. And stay tuned to everybody's social media. A lot of these teams are getting league streamed. I know there's a sports network that does all of the Massachusetts game. They did the New England the New England Leagues game. I call it the Massachusetts League, even though I know it's Maine. But for me, Massachusetts is the closest one. I'm like 2 hours away from. I'm actually closer to Paper City than I am to Utica, I think, when I look at it
Really?
on a map. Yeah. No, I'm way closer to Rutland, Vermont than I am to Utica. I'm like 40
Oh,
minutes from Rutland.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
No, I'm farther east than most people realize. It takes me forever to get out west.
I got to go back to high school geography. That whole area is just a mess to me.
Nobody knows. Nobody wants to know. But as always, thanks so much, Tim. And I'll be back basically to sign us off. But before I go, Yetis are premiering Blue Squatch Productions. We have a lot of cool stuff coming. The Serpents are playing Friday. Everybody watch that game. It's going to be amazing. It'll be on the, we don't stream on the Blue Squatch channel. It will be on the Yeti channel, which you can get to from our channel. But I'm excited. Let's just say everybody pay attention. There might be some new stuff that'll be premiering at the national stream, hopefully in Utica.
Love that.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Tim. And I'll be back, everybody. Have a good night. Tucker LaBelle
Yeah.
and Ryan Andrasco, you guys, we were talking for a couple of minutes before, but neither of you are from Iowa, and the team only started basically just before COVID. So it sounds like it's been a quite the story to get us here. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you guys, and if you could, before you really get into how the team even started, just give us a quick where you grew up playing. Did you play box? Did you play field? Did you play college? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a native of Southern California, but I grew up my high school years and my lacrosse relevant years, as I always say, in Northeast Ohio, in Kent, Ohio. Um, played field basically from the age of 11 on. I fell in love with the game probably more because of the field game before I knew box existed. Started playing box when I was probably 13 or 14. Luckily in an area where box lacrosse was played quite a bit. David Blue, who runs the Cleveland Demons, a long running team up in that region, got me involved, at a young age and kind of got into that. And then that led into being involved with the now defunct Columbus Crows. So a lot of Ohio box was kind of where that started, and then played college out here in Iowa at Clark University, an NAI institution where I'm now the head coach. That's the full-time gig. And then I'm also the head coach for the Bulgarian national team for the field team.
That's amazing. It's so funny to me, like how everybody ends up with all these international coaches. Like I don't know if you know Tony Gray, he's one of the board
Yep.
members, but he's with Team Mexico. I was just talking to Scott Joyner again, another one of the members, and he's with England. He's over there right now. We're trying to set something up. It's so funny how small this lacrosse universe is. I was interviewing a kid at a Tuscarora Junior B Tomahawks game, and he played for Scott Joyner. So it always is interesting to me. And now, so did you guys grow up together, or where did you meet Ryan? I
No,
guess.
so I've got a bit of a different path. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs north of the city. When I was about 9 years old, a family moved in from Colorado down the street and introduced me to the field game. And I played that all throughout growing up. A couple of years in, I dropped everything else, and that was my year-round go-to sport. I ended up going the club route, played at Wisconsin-Madison. And then after I graduated, I took a job out in Iowa. And my first internship is when I was moving to Iowa, and I found the Dogfish team on Instagram. Had never played box before, but met up with them at it was like a fall just open gym session, and
How old were
just
you,
kind
if
of
you
fell
don't
in love
mind
with it.
me asking?
Oh, I was 20, about 20.
So a great time to find
Um,
box. You're in pretty good shape at this point in your life. You're probably, pretty much in your athletic prime. And what was that experience like, if you don't mind me kind of cutting you off there, but just being able to find
no,
box?
you're good. Yeah, I was pretty lost at first. Tucker and Lou, one of the co-founders at the time, came in, asked me what position I played, and I was like, I always played attack. I'm like, okay, cool. You're gonna play transition defense until you figure this out. So it was a big kind of flip me up on my head for the first season there, while I kind of figured out how the game was played and how everything was different. But after that, I loved it. I would go back to Wisconsin for my last 2 semesters and play field again, but it didn't really match up. Same intensity and everything. And then when I moved full time back to Iowa, I took on a bigger role at the team. And the last 2 seasons now, I've been serving as captain. And outside of the box world, I serve as the coach for the University of Iowa men's club team.
So awesome! You guys are both basically full-time lacrossers. I mean, yes, you're coaching at the club team, but essentially for anybody who maybe doesn't know, like the club team athletics is not really like your men's pickup club. It pretty much matches like a Division 3-ish, Division 2 higher level. It's the competition and stuff is a lot different. But I mean, I know some people, especially some of the guys who maybe never more on the Canadian side, played juniors and stuff and grew up, they think of club lacrosse as something way different than what we call club lacrosse, I would say.
Yeah, there's really a spectrum to it. Like both Wisconsin and Iowa, pretty similar boat. Practice a few days a week. It's not quite 5 or 6 days like some of your D3 teams or your D2 teams are, but you still definitely have to put the work in, stay competitive. We have a lot of talent that comes in, guys that definitely could have gone, low level D1, high level D3, some really talented players. Especially the last couple of years at Iowa, we will spend our fall season scrimmaging NAIA teams like Tucker's or some of the D3 teams in the region, and we can hang with them pretty good.
That's something though that's super impressive to me, because you get a bunch of guys who go to a school because they want the education, and then as a added bonus, you get to play lacrosse, and then they get to kind of get introduced to this box world, I'm sure, because it's got to be something that's brought up as you guys are talking to these college players. Now, as you're both involved with these college like young men, what is most of their experience when you explain to them what box is, or do you find most of them now know what box is?
Yeah, we have at Clark. I mean, just honestly, so this is my third year as the head coach. Our team went from, myself and one other guy in our playing days who are box guys. To I tracked it yesterday. We're up to 7 or 8 guys right now on our current roster playing box this summer. So 30% or a little more of our roster is guys playing full-time box this summer, both up north over the Canadian border. And down here, it's fun because our Canadian guys, I'll give a couple shout outs, Dougie Powlis and Jared Brandt and Ryder Chaba, 2 of them being Six Nations guys, one of them being an Alberta guy. They jumped in with us in the Dogfish towards the end of last season because their season wrapped up there. They came back for school. They could actually get some runs in here and kind of bring in a different box flavor and see the Midwest box too. But now, I mean, I think I'm a rare college coach that will spend a lot of my winters actually going to recruit box tournaments over anything else. Because, I mean, as people listening to this probably know, box guys make great field guys. There's a really, really strong work ethic and physicality and stick skills and everything across the board. So, we're working towards the point where hopefully 60 to 70% of our active roster is guys who are also rostered on a box team, whether it be NABLL, whether it be junior B, junior A, senior B in some scenarios. However it works out, we're trying to move towards a way like that. And that's a big portion of that for our region here is I'll give them a shout out to Herkimer and Bob Leary.
Another
We
one.
have
Hang on. That's another one for the Herkimeter. I love the Herkimeter
yeah,
shout
yeah.
outs, but yeah.
Herkimer actually came down here over spring break to Iowa, and we played a Clark versus Herkimer game. We'll have 4, if not 5, Herkimer guys on our roster this year, continuing that connection, and that's also improved the box personality and amount in the area, I would say, as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty different with my team because most of my guys, they came from smaller lacrosse backgrounds. So while they knew field, pretty much none of them knew box, but a lot of them were hockey guys growing up. So once I got a hand in both programs and started, I'd show up to practice and would be short one day, so I'd suit up and I'm wearing my box helmet instead of my field helmet. And then some of the younger guys started asking questions. And what do we got? Like 5 of my current or former players now are suiting up with the Dogfish that started at the University of Iowa.
that's awesome. I love hearing that where you get guys that are just finding it and checking it out. I really think that's what the NABLL does better than probably most leagues is you are allowed to localize your division, and it really takes guys like Dougie Paulus or like you had a lot of box experience, Tucker, but you take a couple of guys with box experience and you grow it, and then before you know what it's like the first time you see your box game, you're like, wow, this is so much better. But yeah, I was the same background as far as a hockey guy, played lacrosse just for something else to do, and got to college and out in central New York. I played in that JUCO. I played in Mohawk Valley with Paul Necker is how I got hooked into all this, the Utica Eddie guy. So it's a very small lacrosse world. So geographically, how far are you guys from the closest Canadian box league?
Oh man, so it depends. I mean, our team right now is scattered. We play under the Iowa Dogfish. Originally, it was just a name and a moniker to really represent the state of Iowa. Now, I think as our roster has expanded, it's become more accurate than ever. I mean, we have guys in Des Moines who are very close to the Omaha and kind of Nebraska region. We have guys in kind of Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, where Ryan's out of, and then we have our team's kind of split primarily between Cedar Rapids area and then Dubuque, Iowa, which is where I'm at, and a couple of our guys are. Dubuque is probably one of the closer-ish. We're a mile from the Wisconsin border, so you can go right up north, kind of from there. Closest box league to us, I'd have to think is probably something in the kind of Ontario area. You could argue if you go straight up to Saskatchewan, that would be an option, but it's few and far between. That's why us having Minnesota teams around and everything like that. It's pushed the competition level higher, and we're seeing kind of lacrosse more similar to that. Ryan and I, for probably the last 2 or 3 years now,
3 years.
Kind of 2 guys who sought out a lot of the other box opportunities. So we'll go play, Lax and I will go do, Buffalo tournaments. The 2 of us kind of try to get north as much as we can in our off season to play. And that's a push that we're trying to do a lot more with guys so that we can see, continually better lacrosse outside of just our region.
So out of curiosity, have I ever streamed you guys before? Have you been to one of the most recent Lax Knives or?
We were playing with the Pittsburgh Kings last time around.
All right.
And then last July, I played in the Buffalo invite with the house team.
Oh, the Buffalo Box Tournament. We were just talking about that
Mhm.
because we just got a call from those guys to do it again, and we've been we were not expecting Can-Am to start this early. Last year, I guess, was different, and that was our first experience with Can-Am last year. So we assumed that, and all of a sudden, that threw our whole schedule out of whack because they started calling like 2 months ahead of time, and I was like, "Wow, you guys are nuts! You go from now until it's over." I thought this was like July, August, June, July, and August. I was ready for, but the rest of it's like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, so you guys play everywhere. How long does it take you to drive over to Buffalo?
I went through Cincinnati, which was a little detour, but it took me 13 hours. I
That
left
is
Thursday after
dedication.
work and got there just in time to play the Friday night game.
That's amazing. I love the dedication, and like those are the stories that I love because you drove 13 hours for no, other reason than just your love of the sport and going, and that's why I love covering these tournaments. And every time we get a chance to do something like that, and actually, so Lax and I now we have two full setups of gear. So even for the NABLL Nationals now, like last year, we didn't have two full setups. They were able to record it. We uploaded some stuff, but yeah, no, it'll be the two pretty much identical streams. We've got wireless mics now to talk to guys before and after the games. We can mic up the refs if they're interested. Yeah, we've upgraded a lot of stuff. I don't know if you guys have watched any of our games yet this year, but a lot of it is because guys like the Buffalo Box and they call us and they're like, we didn't have two laptops or two computers. So Buffalo Box called and I was like, well, buy me a laptop and we'll come out there and make it work. And so we rented a camera, went out there with a laptop and got it, and now we have two laptops, and that's kind of how we've built our whole program. But it's kind of similar to how you guys build these teams. You take parts and pieces. So now, how like your core group of guys? How long have you guys been playing together?
Oh man. There's still guys who have been on the team for all 5 years. We still have, a few of us left.
It's
And
getting
then,
small. It's close to maybe six original guys, and I'm a second year guy, so I'm not technically an OG, but
yeah, and then the 4 year group, there's more of them. Most of the guys we're probably like 60% returner this year. We did have a lot of newer guys come in. It's interesting, for us, the makeup of our team is probably completely different than a lot of the NABLL in the sense that, our average age is probably 21. Maybe when we have a 17 turning 18-year-old on the team.
So
So
you
we
guys are really built for like that national style, those rapid. I mean, there's some teams like you guys just played the Isotopes. It sounds like that's a similar team where you guys kind of like age-wise matched up with them.
Yep. Yeah, that was age-wise probably one of the closest we'll get all year. A lot of guys who are still currently in college, which is, part of the reason we started this team was to cater heavily towards a in college or right out of college audience to kind of give them a way to improve their skills, but also an opportunity to play after college. That was kind of by design. But we're a young team. The good news is that the box IQ continues to get higher with the returners kind of aging and continuing to go through. And it's been cool to see, our alum, our guys who have come through Dogfish who no longer play with us. They're playing with other teams. They're still playing box in other states. The impact is being seen from what we started here to guys who played in college with us and then graduated and go elsewhere. They're continuing to play that game, and it's fun for us because every now and then I'll go to a tournament or a pickup or something in a different city, and I'll see a guy with a Dogfish decal on their helmet, and that's when you're like, okay, the growth is happening. It's cool to see.
Well, I mean, it's funny when you think about it, though. So you've been 5 years of doing it, but if you think about how many guys that have never seen box, and you just imagine that each one of them told at least three people. So there's at least 100, I mean, minimum, but it's probably closer to 1,000 people that
Mhm.
just and that's why I try to do these shows with the GMs because basically to kind of give the GMs a chance to really like be like, wow, we have really grown the game, and we're trying to highlight the guys like you who do all the work. So when you first started running the team, this is one of my favorite questions. What was the biggest surprise to you as a GM? Like the one thing you never thought a GM would have to do or pay attention to?
Oh man. I don't know that I had a lot of surprises. I part of my past is doing kind of a front office internship role with the Columbus Crows back in the day.
So you were
Previous.
really bred for that role.
Yeah, this was something where I worked so much with their former GM that I kind of got used to a lot of it. But we always, Ryan and I, we always have the fun whenever we go to a tournament or we go to a city or something like that, and we try to explain to somebody the level we play at is always really fun. And then we say, oh well, I'm the GM and Ryan's the captain, and we do this and this and this, and oh, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, it might mean picking up water bottles before the game. It might mean making sure a trainer's on staff. It might mean ordering new decals for the new guys. A whole lot of things. My role as a GM is probably very different from a lot of GMs in this league in the sense that we actually have an ownership group. About a year ago or 2 years ago, I opted to sell, the team to an ownership group that now oversees 3 teams in the Midwest. So they oversee the Madison Milkmen, us, and the Chicago Portagers. They also own, a podcast and some media rights and stuff like that. And so a lot of the normal GM stuff now gets handled kind of by an ownership and marketing team as well. So it makes, my life a lot easier in that structure too. And I think recently it feels more professional in ways because we have, all these people that can fall into these roles and accomplish these things for us, that I don't have to worry, as much about the little things anymore. So from the difference.
Yeah, it kind of helps us focus on, our players are on. Obviously, I don't think we've talked about him yet, but our coach is a bit of a legend, Bud. But outside of his contact with our guys, we get to focus more on coaching up the new guys and working on the actual players rather than, in the earlier seasons being the ones having to stress out about field space and sponsorships and whatever we're going to do to pay the bills for the team.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's the first I've heard anybody doing anything like that. So most of these GMs, you might have a group of guys, but that's really cool. I like it. So that's the Box Lacrosse channel and all those guys. You guys are all hooked up with all of that, right?
Yep, that's part of it. That's my side venture is the Box Lacrosse channel. I'm one of the podcast hosts on there, and that's owned by the same group that they're web developers, app developers, ad salespeople. People with really, really, really good business sense.
All the stuff I'm terrible at.
Yeah, same. I mean, I'm a creative guy, and so I've always said, my creative brain isn't great for business often, and so we've seen a lot of just the product of our team has gone up, tenfold in the last 2 years. We just a contract was just inked for us to be in, a 4,000 seat arena that hosts one of the state's biggest hockey teams in Cedar Rapids. I just heard the teaser for our radio ad that's going across the state. We feel like we're moving in a direction where it's not just people accidentally going to games or, somebody on the team. It's getting to the point, around here where the game is so intriguing and interesting to people that we're going to have a fan base of people that are supporting it simply because it's a team in Iowa. And that's the beauty of this state, is that there's not a ton of sports, but the sports that do exist here, people are diehard fans, whether they know the sport or not, simply because you wear Iowa across your chest, which is a really, really, really unique thing that offers us so much room for growth.
Yeah, so if you're not aware, there's no professional sports in Iowa. The highest level is college or minor leagues like AAA baseball. So that's what causes part of the community to really rally around teams at our level or similar, because they don't have, your Chicago Cubs, your Chicago Bears, or your Minnesota Vikings, or whoever to be your ride or die team.
So
you
that
have more
hockey
localized
team,
community teams.
Is that ECHL then?
USHL.
USHL. Okay.
Yeah. So we have hockey's a huge sport here, and that helps us with growth. And recently it's helping us a lot on the youth side, especially where I'm at. We have several USHL teams across the state. We have the Iowa Wild, the direct affiliate to the Minnesota Wild. You got the Iowa Heartlanders, which are ECHL.
One level below.
Yeah.
They feed the Wild. Who feeds the Wild? Yeah.
Hockey's huge here, and the blessing to hockey being big here is that you have a lot of barns, you have a lot of rinks, you have a lot of places to play. I mean, we held our first training camp ever, and we still hold practices occasionally today at an outdoor rink that is a great outdoor rink, conveniently located right in the middle of our city, that wasn't seeing a lot of use. But you go anywhere else, and that would be kind of revered as a great box rink. And so these resources kind of are already in place for success because hockey is big here. And then obviously the translation of fans is strong too. And that's a market that we're really trying to tap into.
So what are the boards behind the outdoor rink? Is it plexiglass or chain link, or what do you guys?
Chain link on the active. Yep.
That's awesome. But it's also so cool that you guys get to play in an actual facility, because I always ask that to the teams too, is what kind of facility. But as you were talking about all the hockey, so it sounds pretty much like most of upstate New York, where you've got barns pretty much wherever. Now, do you guys have a hard time with ones that don't take the ice out? Do you guys have to play on turf a lot, or is that cement, or what is it like out as far as that goes?
Yeah, it used to be. We were really lucky, and I think Ryan and I can both speak to how lucky we were. From year one, we had a designated home rink, It was a former, USHL level rink back in the 90s that basically a Parks and Rec department had bought out and turned into like a soccer turf pad. And it was great because it had all the bones for a really gorgeous old box arena. And so we were really lucky for a number of years to have that place secured. It was very inexpensive. We could go set up whenever we wanted to. We could market. We could do whatever we want. And now it's just the natural growth up into a more professional location. But honestly, arenas and floor time has really never been an issue for us. Previously we were on that kind of indoor AstroTurf. Now we'll be home on a melted off ice concrete floor.
And do you have a preference? So, I mean, I always find this interesting. So, the guys that grow up playing as kids love playing on concrete, and it seems the guys that get into it a little bit older really like the turf. What is your preference?
Ryan, you go first on this one, man. I got to hear yours.
So I hadn't played on like true carpet until I went out to Buffalo, and I really liked the carpet. But cement concrete doesn't bother me at all. But I'll do anything to stay off of that sport court tile. I really don't like that stuff. I don't mind if it's a rubberized floor. I don't mind if it's concrete. I don't mind if it's that nice sharp carpet turf. But that sport court stuff, I don't like that stuff at all.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah. Same thing here, man. Melted off ice, if it's well maintained, is great. I always say a dusty concrete floor can lead to a lot of issues. So I prefer a good turf, and that's probably my Ohio upbringing. That most of the places that we played in were indoor soccer places. A lot of them had really good turf. I remember playing a lot in the Resolute Box Complex in Columbus, Ohio, and that turf it's phenomenal. But either one, I never had an issue. Ryan hit it on the head though with no sport court. That we've played some Cincinnati tournaments, man, and that stuff you fall and it's like a cheese grater on your knees.
No, I find
Kansas City was not friendly to us.
No.
I find basically anybody who's played on good turf usually says they don't, either one is fine. But if you only play on that sport court or the carpet, basically where it's just the, indoor outdoor carpet they lay down and call it turf, then you're usually like, no, I want concrete because that burns bad when I start sliding and there's not a lot of room for traction. So as soon as you said Resolute and you grew up playing there, I was like, I remember that's where we did the Nationals the first year for the NABLL, and the turf was there. That was a great facility. What an amazing place. I mean, yeah, it didn't have true boards, but I mean, other than that, I loved being up on the mezzanine. You got the bar. It was cool. Everybody was hanging out, watching the games. That was a pretty amazing facility.
Yeah, no, that's something that we are working towards having here in Iowa. There's a group somewhere in the Quad Cities area that actually published an article a couple months back specifically mentioning box lacrosse and the reasoning for opening this venue. And that was obviously an awesome testament to what we've accomplished, that box lacrosse is on their radar for facility use. And they're building something similar. It sounds like a 2-pad with kind of a mezzanine above it. But that Resolute box, man, I will always tell people what Resolute has done, and a lot of people in the state of Ohio, for box lacrosse in the Midwest is amazing. The fact that I'm 24 now and growing up at 13, 14, we were able to play box regularly because we had facilities across the state and people that wanted to coach it was huge. And that's kind of what we hope to see with the rest of the Midwest. Chicago's having a blow up kind of time right now with that as well. You're seeing so many more kids in the Midwest play box at a younger age, get hooked, and then spend more time playing box than field before they go to college, which is always a huge plus.
Absolutely. So, I mean, looking back on it, you guys have obviously accomplished. It's crazy what you guys have done with the team and the groups, and it seems like you guys are smart and you really take advantage of. You put the people in charge of what they're good at and kind of delegating things and kind of divide and conquer, which allows you to focus more on the team. So, as you've seen that, you've got new athletes with you talk. Having that young athlete, the biggest problem with them is it's hard to your turnover rate will at best be 50% usually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that something just because you guys plan on keeping it young and growing it, you plan on doing, or do you guys think that you'll be able to get some people to kind of settle into the area, hopefully, or what is the plan there? I guess I'm just a little curious with it because I love what you guys are doing. It's awesome out there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of conversations going on right now about, potentially turning something into, a college level team and then a senior level team. With the direction we're going right now, here and in the rest of the markets owned by our ownership group, there's a real desire to have a college only league and then have a senior level league, with the capabilities of allowing very serious college players to play on the senior level team, and then those who are more casual players to play on their level. I mean, Chicago, one of our owners did a great job setting up what was called Chill, the Chicago Indoor Lacrosse League, something like that. And basically, it was an early summer league to get guys involved. They had 4 teams, like 80 players playing in it twice a week, having a blast. And that's now going to carry over to a couple other cities across the Midwest under the same group. That casual kind of league that, it's casual for some guys, it's training for other guys. That's kind of a direction I think we'll probably end up moving here as well, is having an option for kind of the intro level player, and then having an option for the senior level, the older player. And a lot of that is going to become capable with being in a larger arena, having, hopefully a bigger fan base. You're going to see a need for those two things to happen. And then I'll speak directly to the jump in skill level in our current region and the league now as well is going to, kind of force our hand in a positive way, I think, in that direction too.
Yeah, I think as we grow, especially our fan base and get more known, I mean, there's a bunch of guys who still live in the state that are former players, current players, that don't seem to be fully aware of us. There's a couple other college teams that we have not pulled any players from yet. Whether that's, we can't find contact info for them, whether it's their coaches are a little hesitant to have them play box in the off season, whatever that may be. As we get bigger and get more of that visibility, we expect to get more access to those players. And then kind of like what we were talking about earlier, neither of us are from Iowa. Most of our guys are not from Iowa. And specifically speaking to my guys from the University of Iowa pulls in so many players from out of state, or so many students from out of state, and then they leave when they're done. So that's kind of our big hurdle before we get all of our recognition to be sustainable, is so many people come and go.
Yeah, no, it is huge. So I mean, really, when you see a lot of these programs, it's hard to have a successful college age program without a feeder program of youth. Is there any youth box out there, or what is the youth scene like? All field or?
Yeah, no, great, wonderful question. Really, it's moving in a direction to have a lot of box offerings right now. I for 5 years now I've been a part of what's called the Dubuque Bulldogs. It's kind of an Eastern Iowa area team here, and we've played Wisconsin teams, Illinois teams through the years, kind of whoever's in our region. Those players now are actually at the age where kids I coached on that high school team I now coach in college. And they are picking box as an outlet. They are looking at box. They're curious about box. I was coaching a youth camp today with 68 kids, and the amount of questions that were asked about box versus field was remarkable. The knowledge is there. And so, our next kind of push is, a junior dogfish or, a box developmental league for the kind of the youth age. But there's a huge awareness now across our youth population, and a lot of really young NLL fans, which is really, really, really cool to see. So the box environment for the youth is rapidly developing into something that, we anticipate having kind of a youth league or a youth division across the state moving forward.
And over in my region in Cedar Rapids, it's definitely more field focused. The guy who came in and started or helped to start one of the youth programs in this area was a field guy from out east. And he got some help with some locals that were also field guys. So that's really what's taking grip here. But we also have a lot of kids who are really interested in hockey. And as they learn more about box, whether that's, some of the kids that I help coach, some of my coworkers' kids that have found out about it through their parents. I anticipate with our move to Cedar Rapids, once we start getting a few clinics going with members of the team, we should see a pretty big growth. The local staff for the youth program is full of our guys now. I think there's probably 4 or 5 of them that play dogfish, that coach in the field program. And a quick shout out to that program. It's the Kingfisher Lacrosse program out of Solon, Iowa. They just took the state title for a high school. I believe they took the state title for the 8th grade class as well. And the girls team placed pretty highly. I don't remember exactly where they finished, but they may have gotten second.
Hmm.
So yeah, sounds like you guys got some pretty good things happening with the youth programs, and yeah, the Yeti. I mean, they've been a team for 3 years now, 4 years, and they're just getting the junior Yeti really started, which is they run a Tri-City basically where a bunch of well, Paul who does he's the GM, he's very closely affiliated with Tri-City, so they're trying to do that. But the biggest, I guess, selling point is when you take a field player at a certain age and you all of a sudden cram him in the box, and if he had certain skills that now are completely diminished, it kind of shies some of these kids away, whereas if you learn that at a young age, it's a lot different. And then once you turn another age and you're like a 16, 17-year old, you kind of realize, oh, this is how life works. You're going to suck at it until you get enough practice in, and then you'll get better. But I've seen a lot of like 12 to 16-year-old kids that see box for the first time, they go out there, they get destroyed. They're like, no, I'm just a field player. It's like, well, no, just give it a chance, bud. But it's, yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, so being that involved with the field programs, I guess, do you um do you guys have a lot of like local leagues, or do they still have to travel? Like that team you're talking about, are they able to play like house leagues, or is it still they got to drive everywhere?
Are you speaking to kind of like just youth field lacrosse?
Well, just like, yeah, any youth version of the sport, like box, field, anything, is there getting to the point where they have rec leagues and they're playing against each other, or is it still travel-ish?
Yeah,
It's quite a bit of travel. Um, so right now, like his team, the Bulldogs, and the program I'm with, Kingfisher, we're about an hour and a half apart, and we are basically in conference. There's only a handful of teams. The Quad Cities, which is Davenport, has a team, and there's a handful of other teams sprinkled around, but everyone's about an hour away from each other. So it's quite a bit of travel. Something that is in our future plans. One of our owners is very big in on this idea is the small sided concept, pushing for those 4-on-4s, 5-on-5s, whatever it may be at the youth levels to allow the house leagues to flourish a little bit more. So that's going to be part of something that we help work towards.
Yeah,
well,
I
most
think
definitely.
sixes is going to be huge for that too, as you start to see more guys do that. Just because, like you said, you get more touches when you just get kids playing more the 3-on-3, 4-on-4. It forces you to kind of learn how to pass because no matter how in shape you are, you can only run for so long. Nobody can run for the whole time when you're playing 3-on-3, 4-on-4. I love that philosophy for coaching kids. It kind of forces you to play the right way.
We've
Absolutely.
got a kid who's like an ideal case study for that. He started a few years ago, had some interest in it. His dad pretty much pushed him in. But he got all those touches, like you're saying, small sided, they're playing fours. Everyone was finishing the season with 15 goals, 16 goals, whatever, and it got him hooked. And now he's an 8th grader, and he holds 2 of those trophies from this year because he played up with the high school team, won the state title with them, and then a couple days later had to finish up with the 8th grade group and won a title again.
That's got to be epic to be part of these youth programs and to get to, like you said, you get to coach these kids, and now you're starting to see some of the kids that you coached at that level now to make it up. That's got to be an incredible feeling that not many people actually get. So congratulations on that to both of you guys. And really, it's the GMs like you guys that make these leagues. I wish we could talk forever, but I realize we've already been going for 35 minutes, and we're supposed to try to
Oh
keep
yeah.
these to 30 minutes at a rip. Hopefully we get to do this again. Thank you guys so much. And basically, what is the I notice you guys post on Instagram the schedule. There's a lot of stuff on there, but where is your preferred method of communication for people that are trying to follow you guys, or where do you post most of your stuff?
Yeah, Instagram's our best platform. Great social media team behind that, producing every bit of content. That's just Iowa Dogfish on Instagram. That's the easiest way to get in touch with us, get a hold of us, see schedule updates, game time changes, is just the Iowa Dogfish on Instagram.
Awesome. And so if anybody wanted to reach out to you guys that is maybe in the area, the best way to get in touch with the team to find out about time is that, or is there other links that you guys maybe run for pickup, or do you guys run pickup and clinics and everything through the Iowa Dogfish stuff?
to most everything box is going to be through the Iowa Dogfish Instagram and through our program. And then, we also, push anyone that wants to reach out with specific questions to just iowadogfish@gmail.com, whether it be, hey, can we get a clinic going? Can we figure out tickets, whatever it may be. That's a great way to get in touch with any of our teams connected on there.
Yeah, and especially with how spaced out we are, if anyone's looking for pickup leagues, go through the team, and through that team account, we'll be able to kind of direct you, like say, hey, Ryan's in Cedar Rapids, Tucker's in Dubuque, and Hunter's out in Des Moines. Contact this guy specifically for your local league.
That's awesome. I absolutely love what you guys are doing. I wish I had more time to watch more stuff on the Box Lacrosse channel, because I absolutely think what they the whole way you guys are building everything, where just giving the options to people, the iPad setup and the iPhone setup for people to follow. If you don't have somebody like me who knows how to run the system, I do not think there's a better option out there for teams. Definitely check that out if you are interested. What is it? You just need an iPad and an iPhone, basically, right? Or two iPads?
iPad, iPhone, whatever's got a camera and Wi-Fi capabilities, there's a way to do it. Yep. And that's a huge kudos to our app developer and the financial people willing to support the development of a Box Lacrosse app. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there will be links for all of this stuff in the description of this video, so check below. Thank you guys so much for everything you do for the sport of Box Lacrosse. Thank you for all the hours that are logged in, traveling all over the place. Like you said, Buffalo Box. It's absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to do this again.
Thanks. We appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We hope to see you in Buffalo later this year.
Sorry, had myself muted there. Thanks, everybody, so much for tuning in this week to the NABLL weekly update. If you guys have new teams that are going and you guys want to nominate anybody, shoot us a message. We're going to try to get to all the GMs eventually. It never really happens. Thanks, everybody. Again, we really appreciate all the support. We will be running Yeti Talks. Or I'm sorry, not Yeti Talks. The Yeti game, playing the Seneca Serpents on the Yeti channel. Check it out. There's going to be some awesome stuff. We'll see you next week.